Hi HipKit friends, I am excited to be here with you today to share another layout for the HipKit Club using Cutfiles this month. So this cut file that I'm working with is called Hello Pumpkin, and it's one of the exclusive October HipKit Club Cutfiles. And it actually comes with all three pieces. So the Hello Pumpkin and then the actual image of the pumpkin are all part of that cut file. So I cut it with, this was actually a super simple one to do. I used the cut file that you download, and then I just made the extra layers using the offset tool in the Cricut design software. So that was a very simple thing to do, and I used all patterned papers from the beautiful HipKit Club this month for the October Hip Kits, and I absolutely loved using all of these different patterns together. So this navy one, I actually cut a circle out of one of the patterned papers. It's white and it has almost like a like a plaid pattern. So I cut a circle out of that, and then I cut a larger circle out of the navy floral patterned paper. And I'm covering over that hole. You're gonna see I did it this way because I wanted to be able to use just one piece of that the white plaid pattern paper. So I cut that circle out, but then I'm gonna layer a larger circle behind it so you can't see the opening. And what I was doing there going around that circle is I just used a little bit of ink from my stash. It's a Distress Oxide saltwater taffy, but I am going to end up covering almost all of that up with the inklings, one of the Shimmers inklings from the color kit last month. So I put it down there just to act as a base for where my circles were going to go. And then you'll see that I'm going to cover most of that up. And then the word hello is cut out of the middle of that circle. And that's just because I didn't want to waste any patterned paper. So the word hello that I use on the cut file was from that same patterned paper. I love to double up patterns and see that patterned paper in more than one place on the layout. And so I just sliced it out of the middle of there when I was cutting that in the Cricut. And then you'll see I did cut out from that pink patterned paper. It's got a big white circle in the center of the patterned paper, and then it's got this floral cluster here. And I cut that out, and then I actually cut around the circle, thinking I was going to use that as a layer for my layer piece for the circles in the center of this layout, and then I end up not using that pink circle. So I did cut around that floral cluster, fussy cut. I didn't save all of that on camera. I thought that would be like torture watching all of that. So I cut most of that out because it did take me a long time to cut around that floral cluster, cutting all those edges off. But in the end, it's totally worth it, and it's beautiful. I love that floral cluster and all of those fall looking flowers. And so the background here, it almost looks solid white on this video, but it is a patterned paper. And I did flip it over just a second ago. You saw me flip it over on camera, and I was just making sure that the pattern was matching. I wanted the pattern to be in the right place around the edge and then that center circle. So here I've got all of my pieces laid out kind of where I think they're going to go, and I am using a sweet picture of my husband and me from the pumpkin patch last year. And I love that cut file, Hello Pumpkin. I originally was thinking I was going to use it for a picture of my kids, and then I saw this picture and I thought, oh my gosh, that's the perfect cut file you do so many layouts of my kiddos that I hardly ever do a layout with just my husband and me. So I thought this was a great opportunity. And I love this picture of us. So now I am creating a mat for it. So I used two different patterned papers from this month's kit. So I used a pink pattern paper and then this yellow, almost like a mustard pattern paper. And it's got a subtle pattern. It has leaves and words, and it's a great I'll use a bigger piece of it where you can actually see that pattern on another layout. But for this one, it was perfect for a layering piece to act as a contrasting layer to the orange pumpkin and the pumpkin word and the blue that's going to be surrounding it. So I am adding a layer of that pink craft foam that you see. That's just a cheap craft foam that I got from my local craft store, and I add my own adhesive to it, and then it helps me give some dimension and layering to my layout. So here what I'm doing, sorry you can't see all of it, I am distressing the edges of that pumpkin. I did use my Tim Holtz distress tool, and then I also used a pair of scissors just to get in those edges where it's hard to reach on that cut file. So here I'm just kind of playing around with where I am thinking that I want everything to go before I start adhering it down. I am going to be layering some craft foam in between all of those layers, so I want to make sure I've got everything where it's going to go. But here I am just using some ink from my stash to add behind the pumpkin. I wanted it to be kind of that mustardy yellow color, but I did have to use a couple of different inks. I actually just used the ink that was on my blending brush there for that orange, just to kind of blend it and make it the right shade. So the pumpkin will be, I did not put craft foam behind the pumpkin. It's going to be glued down just to the background, and then you'll see everything else going on top of it. Like the photo has craft foam already built into it, so I'm going to glue that down. And then the words I'm also going to be popping up on craft foam. And I did add the craft foam kind of around the photo. So for instance, where I have that letter K at the top of that K, I didn't add another layer of craft foam. I wanted it to be at the same level as the photo because the photo already had the craft foam behind it. So I did kind of work around. I did one layer at a time, and I put craft foam, you can see there like on the edge of that O for the hello. On that right side of the O, I didn't add any craft foam behind it because it's going to be sitting on top of the photo that already has craft foam. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to get it all at one level. I didn't want my words sticking too far up off the page, but I did want them to be layered, not sitting flat on the background. So now what I'm doing with that floral cluster that I fussy cut from one of the patterned papers, I am using I have a dry embossing tool that I use for everything. I use that little tool all the time, not for what it was intended to use it for, but I love using it to help me curl up the edges of flowers and leaves and different things when I am putting them down on a background. So here I've got that floral cluster where I think it's going to go. And then I am going to pop that up on craft foam as well, just to help it give some dimension. And then it also makes it easier when I am making a floral cluster, when I want to tuck more leaves and flowers in and around things. It does help for them to be up on craft foam, because then I can go kind of behind the edges and add different things to the layers. So you can see I did that, and it does make a huge difference if you curl up the edges of your flowers and leaves when you're putting down a floral piece on a layout. So if you put down a floral cluster flat on a layout and take a picture, and then curl up those edges and take a picture, you can see the dimension and the layering that it adds, and it really does make a big difference on your layout. So I encourage you, if you've never done that, to try curling up some of the edges of your pieces before you put them down. And you can't really mess it up. You're just kind of folding them up, and it just helps add some dimension. So here I am adding the Shimmers Paints Inklings Bahama Mama. So that was in the color kit, the September color kit. And it's a perfect match for the shades of pink in this month's, in the October Hip Kit Club kits. And so and it does have a beautiful shimmer. So I did add that kind of around underneath the pumpkin and around that floral cluster, and then around the edge as well. So I usually do add my mixed media before I glue things down, but in this case I kind of wanted to add it just so that was around just the places that I wanted it to be around. So around that cut file and then around the floral cluster. So here I am adding, I'm fussy cutting out some more of the pieces. I fussy cut some leaves from one of the patterned papers. And then these pieces here are from the ephemera. I'm using only ephemera from the main kit and the embellishment kit. So those are the two kits that I used for this layout. Everything on this layout is from those two kits. So here I'm making just a little bit of a cluster, like an embellishment cluster up here above the pumpkin. You'll see I'm going to go back and add a few more little pieces to that here in a minute. And then I am adding some leaves and some more floral pieces to this floral cluster, just because I love a layered look. So I love everything there to be lots of small details and pieces and parts to things. And by adding some more pieces to this floral cluster, it helps me put things at different layers and different levels and look a little more realistic, as much as paper leaves and floral pieces and embellishments can go. I do love to add different things for your eye to catch as you're looking at the layout. So I'm adding some pieces behind at the top and behind at the bottom. And now I'm adding a pumpkin to the pumpkin up there. But I did the white border on this chipboard sticker was kind of distracting to me. So usually I would just, if it was a piece of cardstock or a piece of paper, I would just cut the white edge off. But because it was a chipboard sticker, I didn't really want to mess it up too much. So I just used some ink to go around the edge of that pumpkin and blend in the white. And then here, these are the acetate stickers. Love those. So I stuck in some acetate stickers. I think those are from the embellishment kit, if I'm not mistaken. So I did tuck those in around that floral cluster as well. And now I'm just going through, that's a chipboard sticker that says Grateful Heart. So now I'm just kind of adding to my clusters that I've already developed. I'm using some heart chipboard stickers. And I will end up using some hearts from both the main kit chipboard stickers and the embellishment kit chipboard stickers. So each of those have sets of chipboard stickers that are fabulous. And I'm using some hearts from each of those and kind of tucking those in and around. And then that word, I can't see it there. When you see the close-up photos, you'll be able to read it. Can't remember exactly what it says. I think it's something about sweetheart or sweet day or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it says. And then I'm adding just some hearts around because I want to tie in those hearts that I used up there on the right of the pumpkin. So I'm adding some hearts to the left side to that floral cluster. And then I'm going to add a heart on the pumpkin, the word pumpkin to draw in that navy. So I like to move colors around the page. I used the navy in the background, and then there's the navy in the floral cluster in the cut file, and then I wanted to add to the word pumpkin as well. So I like to when I'm adding colors to a layout, I like to put them in multiple places on the layout just to kind of give it a cohesive look. So that's what I was doing there. And then this is the finished layout. You can see the close-ups. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I encourage you to check out the October kits, subscribe to the Hip Kit channel. You can tap the bell for notifications, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.